Hello and welcome to the show with me, Jillian Godsil. Today, my guests are the CEO and CMO of Playember, which is a hyper-casual platform for mobile gaming. So Hugo Furneaux and John Hook, welcome to the show.
Hi,
Hi,
Jillian.
Jillian.
Great. So I'm going to start off with Hugo first as a CEO. Hugo, do you want to tell me a bit about your background and how you got into gaming?
Sure. So I actually started off in kind of marketing out of uni probably about 10 years ago. Well, probably more than that now. And part of my job was actually to get web developers in, and I kind of couldn't believe how much money these website developers were making. So I thought, oh, I'm going to chuck this in. I'm going to give web development a go. So learn all of that. And kind of subsequently learn, oh wow, it's super competitive and a very crowded space. And then just by chance, we thought, okay, we're going to do a game, which works really well in the app stores and kind of went up to the top charts. And that was kind of how it all started for us. We've kind of loved games, or I've loved games, kind of growing up playing FIFA and all kind of games like that. But yeah, really passionate about mobile games, mass market, nice little kind of time wasters, and and then we've kind of built out a game or multiple game studios from that, that all kind of concentrate on these kind of snackable, nice games that don't kind of exclude anyone and are kind of truly mass market.
Cool. And John Hook, you are the CMO for Playember. Tell me a bit about your background and also perhaps how you and Hugo met.
Yeah, sure. So the first part of my career was actually at ad agencies in the early days of mobile, working with brands, advising them on their strategy, and then with a friend of mine, we built our own mobile ad network, which we then sold. And from there, spent some time running AdColony in Europe, so video SDK on the monetization side, and in the second half of the career, more on the games publishing and game creation side, building out all the games in Paris. Sorry, there's a dog. And
I'm not interviewing
then,
the dog. I refuse to interview the dog. Sorry, I draw the line there.
Sorry, I'm in a WeWork. Everyone's allowed. And then recently, which is where I met Hugo, I was building out the publishing division for Boombit, and that's where Hugo and I met. I'd been scouting him for a while, and sorry, there's nothing I can do.
Keep on going. We'll carry on.
So yeah, Hugo published 6 games, and I've been chasing him for a while because I really wanted to create some amazing games with him, and that's really where Playember came from. It was a joint venture between sort of Boombit and ADC Games, which still is Hugo's company, and that's where we met. And then very recently with this new sort of product and venture that we launched together, I'm now full-time at Playember.
That's cool. So we'll go back to you, Hugo. Before we go on to the whole blockchain thing and all the exciting sort of pivoting in your industry, just tell me a bit about the hyper casual gaming that you're doing. Who you were developing for? You mentioned it was snackable. You didn't let it included everybody. Very inclusive gaming. Give me a flavor for what you were developing.
Sure. So there's a lot. It's very kind of trend based. So usually if there's something trending on TikTok, there'll soon be a game kind of coming about it, but there's kind of some evergreen kind of themes or genres that come up quite a lot. Idle arcade is quite a big one at the moment, where you kind of collect resources, you upgrade and you build. Runners are always a big one, so something where you're going from A to B, kind of Subway Surfers is probably the kind of the big one that's been turned a bit more hybrid casual, they call it. But in terms of kind of market audience for our games anyway, they've always been 50-50 female and male, and that's 18 to 50 50-year-old age group,
and all on the mobile.
Yeah, all on mobile, Google Play and Apple App Store.
Yeah, and how often, like you said, they're theme based, they're sort of based on trends. So how often do you have to bring out a new game?
Yeah, so it's very the way we work is basically it's a week to 2 weeks where we kind of just get out a product, test it, kind of very quick, and we found that actually if something is going to work, it's going to have really promising stats even after that short amount of development time. And then from there, we can basically pick the ones that look really good and have good stats, and then the team kind of build it out further. So kind of games, we're always producing probably a couple a week, a couple every other week.
Wow.
But kind of most of those don't see the light of kind of a soft launch or a global launch.
Oh, so you've all these games that never get to see the light of day.
Yeah, it's
That's a bit
pretty.
sad.
I suppose it's pretty like data driven, but yeah, I think you
Okay.
learn quick to kind of not get attached and kind of turn off that part.
You have to kill your darlings, as they say in writing terms. So, John, so
Yeah.
you come from an advertising background. Do you have any stats for me on the size of the market, the size of Playember? But I want to then find out, we're moving the hyper casual from the mobile into blockchain. So just before that, are there stats that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're looking at. I mean, we call it mass casual games, so hyper casual, idle merge, and when we started looking at Web3, when we think about NFTs, for us, it's just another monetization technique in mobile games. So, in-app purchases generated around $140 billion in 2021 alone, which is huge. And the point that you've just raised is a great segue in terms of Hugo. Well, how many games don't quite make it? Well, when you look at Unity's S1, there's 120,000 developers building on Unity's engine, mobile game studios, and Hugo and I know, because we've been through this publishing model many times, a number of games in the classic Web 2 publishing model that don't quite get published because they don't meet these fine cost per install and LTV margins. Whereas, that's really where we started to see this huge opportunity, that there's already so much great content out there. How could we breathe more life into that with games that are already created, right? So for us, I mean, in terms of mobile advertising, I don't know the exact multi-millions off the top of my head, but I can tell you in terms of purely Web 2 mobile ad technology, in the past couple of years alone, there's been around $50 billion of M&A, just purely for Get Gaming content. And then if the Iron Source Unity deal goes through, that's going to be even higher. So there's no doubt that this space, in terms of the monetization of like gaming content, is a very hot space when it comes to M&A right now. But yeah, we're really excited. For us, when we think about Web3 and NFTs and stats, for us it's more, as I said, it's just another monetization technique. But for us, it's the key thing is that early adoption on blockchain has definitely been on web, but we genuinely believe that broad adoption is now going to be like in mobile, and that's where we are looking to get a first mover advantage versus a lot of people that are still very focused on the web.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw a tweet today from Crypto Stash, if you don't know, an influencer on Twitter, and he said, "What games would you move from Web 2 to Web 3?" And a whole bunch, all the favorites coming, World of Warcraft, all the other fun saying, let's move it over. So, Hugo, did you start off with when you moved to Web 3 into blockchain? How did that happen for you? Would you take your existing games, or what was that process like?
Yeah. So we certainly aren't a kind of a AAA only web browser based blockchain game or project. That's kind of not the market we're going after. So we really want to bring all these kind of Web 2 users, the billions of them in the App Store, and basically introduce them, onboard them to Web 3, all the really cool bits of Web 3, the ownership of assets and everything, and the interoperability. So it will all be our games to start off with in our beta test period, and that's about 7 million active users. And basically we'll be trying to convert them from Web 2 to Web 3. And we've just started off that in one of our games, in a small segment of it. And actually the conversion rate's looking really promising so far.
And then back to you, John. You mentioned earlier about the billions of in-game purchases. Was that in Web 2 or is that in Web 3?
No, that's Web 2, where we're really excited with my ad tech brain in. you started this in the intro. For me, ads suck on mobile. They really suck. They're really boring. There's no real innovation there. With the greatest respect to a lot of the companies that have sold for billions, it's just ad on a screen, watch it for 30 seconds, get a gem. And that's what really we're fascinated by, is using blockchain to not just make the gaming experience more fun, but the whole ad experience, because free-to-play games are funded by ads. So ads are an intrinsic part of the game. So how can we make you play a game where it's an ad that you want to watch with some like meaningful outcome for you, that you can then choose what you want to do with that outcome. So that's really how we see blockchain and advertising coming together, is just trying to make advertising actually more part of the gaming experience, and actually a gaming experience in itself.
That's very innovative, actually, isn't it, Hugo? Because I was reading through your website, and yeah, advertising, everybody hates advertising, clickbait, whatever it is, to get through to what you want to do. So using blockchain, you can be very innovative. You can gamify it, you can give rewards, you can even the brands themselves can get involved and in the gaming. So actually they're part of the game. That's very exciting.
Yeah, we think so. And yeah, it's been a space that, as John said, kind of hasn't moved on too much, kind of in the Web 2 sense. But I think Web 3 does open up a lot. And actually, kind of with our hopeful user base on Web 3 as well, it does, we think, kind of solves a distribution problem currently for purely Web 3 games. And I think those kind of really hardcore Web 3 games are struggling to get people onto their games, because it's decentralized. It's not kind of centralized like the app stores. And we think these kind of ad models from a game studio and a Web3 game studio point of view will be a perfect opportunity for them to market their kind of NFTs and put them in a loot box within our games and stuff like that.
You're right, because I think people don't really like grinding all the time just to earn. The play to earn is a bit grind based, which is not necessarily satisfying for a gamer. So it's different. So I don't know which of you would like to take on the task of speaking to your tokens, your Spark SPARK token and your Ember EMBR token. Who would like to do that?
Sure. If I take Spark, and then do you want to take Ember, John? So with Spark, it's actually it's a completely off-chain but in-app token. So it's basically an in-game currency, but it's across all the games that put in our SDK. So originally throughout our own games, but then it will be more. And you'll learn this through playing as usual, but you will have these opportunities to earn more Spark in kind of a fun way. So by watching an RV, you'll get an amount of Spark back, and you can basically upgrade within the game, and you can buy things like gift cards in game. And that Spark is effectively off-chain and in-game because of, well, partly because of Apple and Google, because they want on-chain things to be off-app. But it also gives another limiter, and then Spark can be exchanged for Ember.
Okay, so Spark is in the game. You can't exchange it, the value, but you can exchange it for to upgrade perhaps in the game, or to purchase stuff within the game. So it's an in-game, and you can earn it. So it's kind of cool. So then, John, you're tasked with explaining how does the Ember token work, and obviously where Spark is unlimited, it's a utility. Ember there is limited to, what is that, 100 billion? So what is that? How many? 9 zeros.
Yeah.
A billion, is it? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So the way we've designed it is we've basically built a meta game within a mobile game, and that meta game is all about, consumer playing the game, watching ads, and being able to swap Spark in game for prizes. So iPhones, Xboxes, just as examples, or something more simple like a Starbucks voucher, iTunes voucher. Now Ember, think of it almost like as a first of all like a rewards token, a VIP token, but we're going to have our marketplace, and within that marketplace there's of course going to be some items that anyone can swap Spark to Ember to collect, but there's going to be sort of VIP items with that marketplace. Some of them we're working on with brands, so for example it's going to be like branded sneakers, or other items of clothing or cosmetic skins like you get on Fortnite, and to access those you're going to need Ember. So to get Ember, of course, we're going to use that to reward our most loyal players, via airdrops. But some of it is going to need to be earned. You're going to have to convert Spark into Ember. So again, it's not going to be for everyone, because think about mobile games. You've got people that like free-to-play games funded by ads and don't make IAP purchases, but you've got those that really love the game, really get into it and want the top cosmetics and the top assets. And that's really where Ember will come in. It also has an extra utility because this is a Web3 project where it's all about really our community, but also game studios that are going to be putting games on our platform. So there also will be a governance component to the Ember token as well, where players, studios, and also advertisers that are going to be part of this platform will all be part in making strategic directions of where we're going to go. So new products, new advertising features, new partnerships.
So actually that leads me quite nicely to, you're not only going to be developing your own games, Web3 games, you're going to look at other studios, because you've basically cracked it, and ask them to come to you perhaps. So what type of game partnerships with gaming studios do you think you're going to make?
So
Hugo,
certainly with mobile certainly with mobile games. So we have some really good friends in the mobile game Web2 space. And basically we've created this SDK, and it's all about ease, really. Because we found, and to be honest, we were in this position kind of 9 months ago, where it's a struggle to learn new languages, and your focus effectively goes away from making games and you're building the blockchain tech. And I think it's something we're seeing happening a lot with other game studios at the moment, where they're kind of in this middle ground. Should we concentrate on making games, or should we do Web3? And it's kind of productive neither way. So we've created this SDK within an hour, up to 2 hours integration, and it's kind of an integration that game studios are really used to. So it means that they can concentrate on making games and effectively concentrate on what they're good at. So we're not necessarily going actually after the Web3 game studios. It's more the classic Web2 mobile ones. Which
makes sense, because you say, are you a game, if you're a Web2 game producer, do you want to make games or do you want to get into tech? This makes it much simpler. That's a very clever operandi. And then you're also being supported by the NEAR Foundation. So you're on the NEAR protocol. Why? Tell me why you like them.
Sure. Yeah, but for us it was, well, actually we were impressed with a few things. So one, we feel like it's a really good builders chain. I think perhaps they don't sometimes make as much noise as they should, but kind of tech wise, they're fantastic. Kind of the TPS and everything kind of technical is absolutely bang on, and the sharding for scaling and future just looks kind of future proof, which was one kind of really big tick. Another huge tick for us, seeing as we're moving from Web2 or changing Web2 users to Web3, was the wallet. And currently the wallet is, we think, the best one about for Web2 users. It's a really kind of Web2 friendly user interface, and it's very quick to set up a wallet, unlike some other chains and layer 2s where it's very
private keys, and it's kind of difficult. That's cool.
Yeah.
So final words then, John, where do you think you'll be in a year, 2, 5 years?
With Web3, you just don't know. I think it's more like, where do you think you'll be in a week? Where we'd like to be in a year, this will be fully operational. So we'll be out of the beta end of Q4. We're going to have some incredible conversion data on Web2 to Web3 players off a 8 million DAU player segment. So we're going to have this amazing insight that we're then going to scale into sort of more third-party games. We're already starting the next fundraise, even off the strength of some of these beta numbers. So I think we'll have doubled the team size. We should be up to around, I hope, fingers crossed, around 50 to 100 million DAU on our platform. And in terms of actual Web3 wallets created, I mean, our target is around, if we're at 50 million based on the current numbers, ideally between 10 to 20 million new Web3 wallets created. and really start building our name as like the leading like Web3 ad platform.
Brilliant. And Hugo, last words from you. Can you see beyond the week, beyond the year in Web3? What's your vision?
Yeah. Sometimes it does seem hard to look too far, but yeah, I think very similar to what John said. We kind of certainly want to be that Web3 big scale mobile project, and kind of ad network that really has kind of decentralization at its core and is a real ecosystem, whereas compared to kind of the Web2 alternatives at the moment.
Perfect. And if people want to find you, what's the best way to play your games and also to find you in a professional capacity?
I think, yeah, Twitter's always great. But yeah, on the website, there's lots of contact things. But
so Playember,
yeah,
Twitter, or playember.com website.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Brilliant. But I must get playing your games. Next time I'll give you some feedback. So thank you so much for your time. Very interesting. And I love the whole idea of you've cracked it so people can come to you, make the games, and then just use your middleware, use your interface, your SDK, and put their games into Web3. So very clever thinking. Thank you very much for your time today, gentlemen.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Thank you
Jillian.
very much, Jillian.
Thank you.